welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a belated what I got for Christmas bookish edition as told by my antlers. I would like to show you guys all the books that I received in the month of December for Christmas, as well as the books that I gifted myself because I am my own Santa Claus. Yikes. So without further ado, let's get into this. I don't really want it to be a long video, and I'm not going to be giving really long explanations. I just wanted to show it to you guys. And yeah, so the first person who gifted me books was my mom, and she purchased me The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. And for those of you guys who don't know, this is basically a series revolving around fairy tale retellings. I don't really know, it kind of looks steampunk. I love fairy tale retellings, and I'm really excited to see a spin on my favorite stories. Pretty hefty too, like book workout or what? The next person who gifted me things for Christmas was my boyfriend's parents, and I was gifted Am I Overthinking This by Michelle Riel, and it's basically 101 charts for answering life's toughest questions. I am somebody who has rejection sensitive dysphoria as well as severe anxiety, and so I'm constantly overthinking things to the max. This is just really funny receiving. Maybe it will make things a little easier for me. So the next book that I received from my boyfriend's parents are Wired for Love: How Understanding Your Partner's Brain and Attachment Style Can Help You Diffuse Conflict and Build a Secure Relationship by Stan Tatkin. And she was actually telling me the other day about how this was a really informative book and really helped teach some things that maybe she wouldn't have thought of initially. I am always open to reading advice in relationships because I'm very determined to make mine work. So I'm really hoping that this has some insightful information that will introduce new coping mechanisms to my relationship. The next book that she got me, I was completely not expecting at all, and it is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. And I've been hearing so much about this book on Bookstagram, Booktube, and Book Talk, and it's been on my list for a while, and so I was really surprised that she bought this for me because, you know, I never told her at all that it was on my list, and she said that she had heard about it from a friend and decided to pick it up for me. And so I'm really excited to have my hands on this. This is kind of like an atmospheric, creepy vibe book. This is about a girl named Noemi Taboada who receives like this frantic letter from her newlywed cousin. So she goes over and her cousin's like, "Oh, I'm fine, I don't know what you're talking about." But something's just off and the house is really creepy, and so there may be sinister things lurking behind what's really going on behind this picture-perfect kind of relationship. And I think there's like a paranormal element to it, but I've heard it's a very creepy novel, and I've actually discovered in the past year that I really do like creepy paranormal thrillers, and I definitely plan on keeping you guys posted. The next two books that I received are from one of my good friends, Kinete, and he got me two books. One of them was on a wish list that I had sent him, and another one was a book that he thought was going to be very impactful in my life. So the first book is The Bone Witch by Rin Chupeco. This is about witches, essentially. A bone witch, feared and ostracized in the kingdom, and they have a powerful elemental magic that can reach beyond the boundaries of the living, so into the land of the dead. And basically Taya leaves her homeland to train under the guidance of an older, wiser bone witch. She begins learning and becoming stronger, and this is convenient because war is brewing in the kingdoms and she might have to fight for her homeland. This just sounds really interesting. I'm a little worried that it's going to be scary because she apparently is the author of The Girl from the Well. It just sounds like a horror book, so I hope that this one's not as scary because I definitely do not have the stomach for actual horror. I can handle like dark fantasy, but horror is a whole nother thing for me. Anyways, cover is beautiful, love my witches. The next book that he got me is Man's Search for Meaning, which basically has descriptions of life in Nazi death camps and lessons for spiritual survival, where it talks about a psychiatrist named Viktor Frankl who labored in 4 different camps, including Auschwitz, while his parents, brother, and pregnant wife perished. So he talks about his experience as well as his patients' experiences in the camps and how we can choose to cope with it, find meaning in it, and move forward with renewed purpose. This, oh my gosh. I had actually didn't have a chance to read the back of it when I first read it, but that just, it's like a memoir. I'm very excited to reading this. So the next two books that I got were from my best friend Kristen, and she gifted me You Had Me at Hola by Alexis Daria, as well as The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. And so both are really fun, like chick flick, like romance kind of reads, which I feel like a girl needs every once in a while. Okay, so You Had Me at Hola is basically about Jasmine Lynn Rodriguez, who finds her face splashed across the tabloids after a messy public breakup. When she returns to New York to star in a new bilingual romantic comedy television show, Jasmine figures her leading lady plan should be easy enough to follow until a casting shakeup pairs her with the telenovela hunk Ashton Suarez. And I'm not going to read the rest of it, but you can tell that, you know, there's going to be some passion brewing, and I'm all for that. Also, I think that the cover is absolutely stunning. I just think it's beautiful, and I'm definitely going to be picturing these characters as I'm reading. The next book that she gifted me is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This is about two people who are basically forced to use up a all-expenses paid wedding honeymoon trip. They hate each other, but they end up, I think it's like enemies to lovers kind of thing, and that just sounds like really cute. So I'm excited to read this. I've been really wanting to get more into romance books recently, and I think that these two books are the perfect gateway. So the next book was gifted to me from my boyfriend. He gifted me Heartless by Marissa Meyer, a fairy tale retelling of, what is it, the Red Queen? Like the queen that goes off with their head, yeah. So basically this is a retelling of that. Marissa Meyer is actually also the author of the Lunar Chronicles, which are the other like fairy tale retelling collections. So I think we're gonna vibe. I foresee that because every single book that she comes out with, I'm just like, I want it. It sounds so interesting. I've heard really good things about this, and I love Alice in Wonderland, and I'm really excited to see how this adaptation plays out. The next book that I got is from my friend Lucia, and she gifted me The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levin Seller. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful! It's about Alessandra, who is tired of being overlooked, but she has a plan to gain power. 1. Woo the Shadow King. 2. Marry him. 3. Kill him and take his kingdom for herself. Ooh, sounds pretty treacherous, and I also feel like this is gonna be an enemies to lover romance. I think the Shadow King has like powers and stuff, so there's probably gonna be magic involved. We love a good dark fantasy. The next two books that were gifted to me are from my best friend Diana, and she gifted me two books that were on my wish list. One is Lovely War by Julie Berry, and I'm not gonna lie, it's a total cover buy. Initially, I thought this book was a complete historical fiction, but looking on at it, it's actually historical fiction going on in World War I and II, but it involves the gods, which I think is so cool because I love mythology. And so this is told by Aphrodite as she's telling the story, I guess, from her perspective of World War I and II with 4 mortals whose fate is in the gods' hands or something. So that just sounds so fun, and I feel like this is either going to be a really heartwarming read, but something tells me it's going to be a total tearjerker at the same time. The next book that she got me was Woven in Moonlight by Isabel Ibanez. I thought that this was a magical realism kind of novel, but now looking at the cover, which is so beautiful, it's actually also a fantasy. So this is about Jimena, who is the decoy condessa, a stand-in for the last remaining Illustrian royal. Her people lost everything when the usurper Atok used an ancient relic to summon ghosts and drive the Illustrians from La Ciudad. Now Jimena's motivated by her insatiable thirst for revenge and her rare ability to spin thread from moonlight. So we love a badass girl. This just sounds like a very lush novel, and I don't really have much to say about any of these books because I haven't really done a lot of research on them, but I'm stoked to be receiving this, and will definitely be including this in my 2021 TBR. The last book that I was gifted is from my dad, and he gifted me the Mortal Instruments Shadowhunters collection. I have heard so long about the Mortal Instruments series, and I am very late to the game. I have not read a single book by Cassandra Clare, and I've been really wanting to read the entire series from beginning to end, and so starting in February, I believe, I'm going to start reading like one book per month. So at the rate that I'm going, I'll probably have caught up with all of Cassandra Clare's novels by 2022, but definitely not this year. I'm reading it according to Cassandra Clare's suggested order, so it's not going to be all of these like in chronological order, but it has everything that I would want in a book. Like, it has the romance, it has the magic, and it has that kind of dark atmosphere that I really vibe with. So the last amount of books are books that I bought myself. Oh gosh. These are all the books I purchased for myself in the month of December as a treat yourself gift, even though I literally treat every day as treat yourself day. But that's not the point. The first book that I got is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I was initially going to get the whole series, but it was kind of pricey, and I mean, what if I don't end up liking the books? I think that's pretty unlikely, but better be safe than sorry. So I decided to just kind of try and read one book at a time. So I got Throne of Glass. I don't really know anything about it, actually. It's definitely like a very intense series, and it's got some books that just apparently like leave a lot of people heartbroken. It's like I'm scared to get hurt, but at the same time I'm ready, because that means that the book is like that good if I'm feeling all the emotions. I am trying to finish Throne of Glass and ACOTAR by 2021 so that I can finally be like in the know, because I still haven't read any Sarah J. Maas books either. Basically got a lot of goals to achieve. The next book that I got is Every Heart a Doorway by Shannon McGuire, and this just looked like a very whimsical novella type story about magical doors that lead to other realms and worlds, which sounds totally up my alley. I fantasized about finding Narnia in my wardrobe when I was a little kid for years after the first movie came out. Even though now that I think about it, I think I'd be a bit chicken to actually go inside the world, because I mean, think about it, like the Ice Queen was scary as hell. In a lot of movies and books, the doorways don't always lead to great places. I heard this is a very whimsical book, and I would like to read the rest of the series as well. The next two books that I got are Thunderhead and The Toll by Neil Shusterman. This is part of the Scythe trilogy, so these are the last two books. I recently read Scythe in December, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the storyline. It was just so amazing, and it was everything I could ever hope for in a dystopian. I've really not read any dystopian novels besides Divergent and The Hunger Games, which I loved both of them, but I haven't really given dystopian novels a chance until Scythe, and can I just say I was not disappointed. I am so excited to be continuing and finishing my journey in the Scythedom with these two books, and I'm planning on actually reading this month. Okay, the next book that I got is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow, and I'm not gonna lie, definitely a big reason of why I was attracted to this book is not only was it talked about on Booktube, but it just has a super stunning cover. Look at that. As the ward of the wealthy Mr. Locke, January Scowler feels little different from the artifacts that decorate his sprawling mansion. Carefully maintained, largely ignored, utterly out of place. But when she finds a strange book, one that tells a tale of secret doors, of love, adventure, and danger, for the first time, January realizes she can escape her story and sneak into someone else's. These have very similar vibes, so that's exciting. The next book that I purchased for myself in the month of December is The Illuminae Files by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This just looks so cool. It's beautiful. It's definitely thicker and bigger than I thought it was going to be. I don't really know what this is about either, so I'm just gonna read to you guys. The year is 2575, and two rival mega corporations are at war over a planet that's little more than an ice-covered speck at the edge of the universe. Sci-fi vibes. Okay. Too bad nobody thought to warn the people living on it. With enemy fire raining down on them, exes Katie and Ezra, who are barely even talking to each other, are forced to fight their way onto the evacuating fleet with an enemy warship in hot pursuit. But the warship is the least of their problems. A deadly blank has broken out and is mutating with terrifying results. The fleet's AI, which should be protecting them, may actually be their enemy, and nobody in charge will say what is going on. As Katie hacks into a tangled web of data to find the truth, it's clear only one person can help her bring it all to light. The ex-boyfriend she swore to never speak to again. That sounds so interesting. I've heard so many good things about the storytelling and how it's really unique and that it doesn't tell the story strictly in paragraph form, and I can see that scanning, like there's a lot of different ways of writing waiting. Some of them are arriving in text form. There's like a picture in here that's written with words. There's email addresses, like things crossed out. It just seems like a very engaging read and definitely up my alley. Last but not least, I have A Darker Shade of Magic by V. Schwab, and this is about Grey London, dirty and boring, without any magic, with one mad king, George III. Then there is Red London, where life and magic are revered, and White London, a city slowly being drained through magical war, down to its very bones. And once upon a time there was Black London, but no one speaks of that now. Officially, Kell is the Red Traveler, one of the last magicians who can travel between the worlds, acting as ambassador and messenger between the Londons in service of the Maresh Empire. Unofficially, he's a smuggler, which is a dangerous hobby for him to have, as proved when Kell stumbles into a setup with a forbidden token from Black London. Fleeing into Grey London, Kell runs afoul of Delilah Bard, a cutpurse with lofty aspirations, who first robs him, then saves him from a dangerous enemy, and then forces Kell to spirit her to another world for proper adventure. But perilous magic is afoot, and treachery lurks at every turn. To save all of the worlds, they'll first need to stay alive. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I don't really know what else to say because I think I'm just going to have to kind of throw myself into the world and get immersed. That's usually what works best for me when I don't really know as much what is going on and I just kind of start it with a clean slate and no expectations. I'm excited. I'm always down to get invested in a new fantasy world, and this just seems up my alley. Plus, I've heard so many good things about V. Schwab. I did read her book, City of Ghosts, and I really liked that. A good sign. Those are all the books that I got in the month of December for Christmas, as well as the Christmas gifts I gifted myself. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I would love to hear in the comments down below if you either read any of these books or have any of these books on your TBR. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!